Hello, Immortal News family, and welcome back to our channel. In the last 24 hours, we have received the somber news of the passing of extraordinary talents, and today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Before we start, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. Number 4. Life is not a paragraph, and death is no parenthesis. Few embodied the layered poetry of life like Tom Stoppard. Passing away peacefully at the age of 88, Stoppard left behind a world more thoughtful, more curious, and more alive because of his words. He died at home in Dorset after a brief illness, surrounded by love and the stories he gave the world. Known for reshaping modern theater, Stoppard didn't just write plays, he built ideas, wrapped them in humor, and made them dance. His breakout play, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, flipped Shakespeare on its head and marked the birth of a brilliant new voice. From Arcadia to the real thing, from the coast of Utopia to Leopoldstadt, his characters wrestled with time, love, science, and identity. Each line packed a universe. His dialogue was not only clever, it was alive. He won 5 Toni Awards, an Academy Award for Shakespeare, in love, and the respect of the literary world. Yet, he never wrote to impress. He wrote to understand. Without a university education, he started as a journalist before finding his home under theater's bright lights. That unique path shaped his voice. Sharp, compassionate, always searching. Beyond his plays, he was admired for his kindness, his quiet humor, and his belief in the power of language. Actor Ethan Hawke once said, "When you watch Tom Stoppard's work, it makes you feel incredibly intelligent because he never talked down to his audience." He saw theater as a place where ideas met people, not just the page. His gift was never preaching, it was inviting us to look closer, feel more deeply, and laugh through uncertainty. Knighted for his contribution to British culture, he called it a moment that sealed his sense of belonging. Stoppard, who fled Europe as a child, gave back an entire language's worth of brilliance. He leaves behind a body of work that will keep questioning, challenging, and comforting long into the future. Sir Tom Stoppard's curtain has closed, but his echo remains. Tributes to Tom Stoppard. Number 3. Once you've seen a Skyhooks show, you never forget it. And that electric energy? That was Bob's guitar speaking. Fellow musician and friend from the road, Bob Bongo Starkie, the flamboyant guitarist who lit up Australian stages for decades, has passed away at the age of 73 after a brave battle with leukemia. With a red jacket, slick riffs, and a grin that said, "Let's have fun," Bob wasn't just part of Skyhooks' sound, he helped define it. Joining the band in 1973, he stepped right into the spotlight, replacing his older brother Peter, and never looked back. Skyhooks exploded with color and controversy in the 70s. Their outrageous costumes, fearless lyrics, and twin guitar attack grabbed Australia's youth by the collar, and Bob was at the heart of it. He brought attitude to every chord and flair to every stage. Hits followed. Audiences swelled, and Bob's guitar became a symbol of Australia's evolving rock identity. He played through Skyhooks' most vibrant years and stayed loyal through every reunion, 1983, 84, 90, 94, never missing a chance to thrill the fans. In 2015, he took that energy on the road again with his Skyhooks show, introducing a whole new generation to the music that made history. Crowds cheered like it was the 70s all over again. Those who knew him best speak of his warmth, humor, and passion. He wasn't just a showman. He was a generous spirit who cared deeply about the music and the people who heard it. Bob was a true original. He played like he lived, with joy, boldness, and love, said a longtime collaborator. His passing leaves a silence in the music world, but his sound lives on. In every shouted chorus, every guitar solo that dares to be wild, there's a piece of Bob. He leaves behind a legacy of fearless creativity, unforgettable performances, and fans who danced because of him. Tributes to Bob "Bongo" Starkie. Number 2. You light up a room when you walk in. That's Toni. These were the words used by those who knew her best. Colleagues, family, and fans alike. Toni Lamond didn't just perform. She captivated, inspired, and uplifted countless hearts through a lifetime on stage and screen. She passed away peacefully at the age of 93, leaving behind a legacy of firsts, laughter, and unwavering dedication to her craft. A true pioneer, she was the first woman in the world to host a Tonight-style show, breaking boundaries on live television and setting the stage for future generations of women in media. Her career began in the golden age of vaudeville and spanned over 7 decades. She became a fixture on the Australian stage, with standout roles in musicals like Gypsy and Oliver, where she commanded every spotlight with grace and power. The theaters of Sydney and Melbourne knew her voice. Later, so did audiences in the United States, where she seamlessly transitioned into roles on popular TV dramas like Murder, She Wrote, and Starsky and Hutch. But it wasn't just the big shows or the bright lights. Toni also poured herself into every cabaret performance, every heartfelt song, and every tap dance step. Warm, witty, and always ready to lift others up, she mentored younger performers and was endlessly generous with her time and talent. She received some of the industry's highest honors, including the J.C. Williamson Award and an Honorary Order of Australia for her service to entertainment and charity. Despite these accolades, she remained grounded, often performing alongside her beloved son, Tony Sheldon, bringing joy to families across the country. Fellow performer Rhonda Birchmore once said, "Toni was the true north of Australian showbiz. Every performer looked up to her." That sentiment now echoes across generations. Toni Lamond's spirit is woven into the fabric of Australian entertainment. Her smile, songs, and the trail she blazed will never be forgotten. She gave the world her heart, her voice, and her laughter. She will be deeply missed, but her star will forever shine. Tributes to Toni Lamond. What's trending on the internet? News 1. You know how some people say they feel younger than they look? Well, television legend Simon Cowell is now saying he might actually be aging backward. And it's all thanks to a very unusual health trend. Simon Cowell, the 65-year-old producer and longtime judge from shows like American Idol, The X Factor, and America's Got Talent, recently shared that he tried a controversial wellness procedure sometimes called a blood rinse and filter. In simple terms, it's a medical process where blood is taken out filtered, and then put back into the body, with the idea of giving your system a kind of refresh. Simon says that after trying it, people around him started commenting that he actually looked younger. He even joked that he feels like he's aging in reverse. For someone who's been on our television screens for decades, many viewers have noticed that he does, in fact, look a bit different these days. Now, doctors and experts are still very cautious about these kinds of treatments. They can be expensive, they may carry risks, and they are definitely not something to try just because a celebrity did it. Simon himself has spoken openly over the years about experimenting with different health and beauty routines, learning from his experiences, and trying to live a healthier, more balanced life as he gets older. What stands out most in Simon's story isn't just the procedure, but his attitude about aging. He has talked about wanting to be more present for his family, especially his young son, and about focusing on feeling good, not just looking good. For many older viewers, that message rings true. Taking care of ourselves, listening to our bodies, and embracing life at every age. Whether or not this blood-filtering trend ever becomes mainstream, Simon Cowell's journey is a reminder that growing older can also mean growing wiser, more grateful, and more determined to make the most of our time. And that may be the most powerful kind of rejuvenation of all, a refreshed outlook on life, family, and the years still to come. News 2. If you've ever hunted for a great bargain the old-fashioned way, clipping coupons at the kitchen table, you're going to smile at this story. Across the country this week, older adults, families, and even whole neighborhoods are turning Black Friday into something a little more heartwarming. A chance to save money together, share memories, and help one another out. While big retailers roll out extended Black Friday deals online and in stores, many folks are turning bargain hunting into a team sport. In one small Midwestern town, a retired teacher named Linda, age 72, has become the unofficial deal captain of her community center. Each morning, she prints out the latest sales and gathers a group of neighbors for coffee. Together they circle the best prices on winter coats, small kitchen appliances, and holiday gifts for grandkids. For people who live on a fixed income, these discounts can make all the difference, turning a stressful season into a joyful one. Over on the West Coast, a grandfather named Harold, age 78, is using online Black Friday sales to teach his grandchildren a few timeless lessons. Sitting side by side at the computer, they compare prices, look for free shipping, and talk about needs versus wants. The kids learn how to stretch a dollar, and Harold gets to share stories about when a special purchase, like a new radio or a family television, was a big event for the whole block. In many communities, church groups and local charities are getting in on the spirit too. Volunteers are carefully watching the extended sales to pick up warm blankets, socks, and coats at low prices, then quietly delivering them to neighbors who could use a little extra help this winter. It's bargain hunting with a mission, using big discounts to spread comfort, dignity, and kindness. What makes these stories so special isn't just the savings, it's the way people are blending something modern, like online deals and digital coupons, with something wonderfully old-fashioned, looking out for one another. Older adults bring a lifetime of practical wisdom to the table, reminding everyone that patience, planning, and generosity never go out of style. As this season of extended Black Friday sales continues, many families will remember less about the exact gadgets they bought and more about the moments spent together comparing lists, sharing advice, and laughing over memories of holiday shopping years ago. In the end, the true deal isn't just a low price. It's the reminder that when we plan together, save together, and give together, we all come out richer. And that's how this year's wave of Black Friday bargains will be remembered, not just for the sales, but for the simple, enduring kindness that turned shopping into a way to care for one another. News 3. There's something about Dolly Parton that just feels like home, and this Thanksgiving her message is touching hearts all over again. Country music legend Dolly Parton, now 78 years old, is speaking out to fans as she continues to navigate some health challenges. And she's doing it in the most Dolly way possible, with gratitude, humor, and a whole lot of love. In a warm Thanksgiving message shared with her fans, Dolly opened up about slowing down a bit and taking extra care of herself. While she's been facing some health issues, she kept the focus not on worry, but on thankfulness. She talked about how grateful she is for the doctors and loved ones helping her, and especially for the fans who have been supporting her for decades. Even as she takes time to rest and heal, Dolly's spirit is as bright as ever. She reminded everyone to cherish the people around them, to hold their families close, and to remember that each day is a gift. Instead of dwelling on what's difficult, she gently encouraged folks to look for the blessings in front of them, big and small. For so many of us who grew up listening to Dolly's music, watching her on television, or seeing her good works in communities across the country, her words feel like a comforting visit from an old friend. From her imagination library that has put books in the hands of millions of children, to the hope she's brought through her philanthropy, Dolly has always found ways to lift others up, even when life isn't easy. This Thanksgiving, her message is simple, but powerful. Be kind, be thankful, and don't lose your sense of joy, no matter what you're going through. As she continues her own health journey, fans are surrounding her with love and well wishes, just as she has surrounded the world with her songs and her generous heart. However the road ahead unfolds, Dolly Parton will be remembered not only as a musical icon, but as a shining example of grace, gratitude, and goodness, reminding us all to keep the light on in our hearts and to never stop counting our blessings. News 4. If you've been following the headlines today, you've probably heard about former President Donald Trump's latest move involving Venezuela, and it's sparking a lot of conversation across the country. Speaking from Washington, Donald Trump announced that the United States will close the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela in its entirety to most flights. This decision, he says, is aimed at increasing pressure on the government of President Nicolas Maduro, while also trying to keep Americans and regional partners safe. It's a major step, and it means airlines, cargo carriers, and even private flights will face new restrictions when it comes to flying into, out of, or around Venezuelan territory. Officials say that humanitarian and emergency flights will still be allowed under special permissions, so that essential medical aid and support can continue to reach people in need. Neighboring countries are now working closely with U.S. authorities to coordinate flight paths, rerouting, and safety procedures so that everyday travelers face as little disruption as possible. For many older Americans who remember major international standoffs from decades past, this moment may feel familiar, a reminder that diplomacy, policy, and security often come together in ways that affect the skies above us, not just the borders on the ground. Experts expect ongoing discussions with Latin American partners, as leaders try to balance firm pressure on Venezuela's leadership with care for the millions of ordinary people who call that country home. As this story continues to develop, what stands out is the hope that strong, peaceful measures today can help pave the way for a safer, more stable tomorrow in the region. However you view the politics, many people are united in their wish that these decisions ultimately lead to more dialogue, more understanding, and better days ahead for families on both sides of the Caribbean. News 5. Let's talk about a story that's been getting a lot of attention, and has many travelers taking a second look at their upcoming flights. Airbus, the European plane maker behind the popular A320 family of jets, has announced a major recall after a recent mid-air incident, and it's sparking an important conversation about safety, responsibility, and the power of learning from close calls. The incident involved an Airbus A320 passenger jet flying a routine route when the crew noticed an alarming technical issue while in the air. The pilots followed their training, took careful action, and were able to bring the aircraft down safely. Everyone on board made it back to the ground without injury. No panic, no tragedy, just calm professionalism and a lot of relief. For many people watching the headlines, that safe landing is the heart of this story. In the days that followed, engineers and investigators moved quickly. They focused on a specific component in the A320 systems that may have contributed to what happened during that flight. Rather than waiting for multiple events or more serious outcomes, Airbus chose to act early. The company has now launched a large recall and inspection program, asking airlines around the world to bring affected A320 aircraft in for checks and repairs. If you have flown in the last few decades, there is a good chance you have been on an Airbus A320. These are the workhorses of many airlines, shuttling families, business travelers, and vacationers across the country and across the ocean. So when a recall on this scale is announced, it naturally raises questions, especially for older travelers who remember a time when commercial flying felt very different. What stands out here, though, is not fear, but responsibility. Aviation today is built on the idea that every incident, even one that ends safely, is a lesson. Pilots file reports, airlines cooperate with investigators, and manufacturers like Airbus dig into the details. When something looks even slightly off, the industry's best response is to fix it, fast, and to be open about what they are doing. That is exactly what this recall represents. Airlines are now working with Airbus to schedule inspections and, where necessary, replace parts. In some cases, flights may be adjusted or delayed while aircraft are taken out of service for maintenance. It can be inconvenient in the short term, but it is all in service of a simple goal: making sure that when you or your loved ones step onto a plane, the aircraft has passed through some of the most rigorous safety checks in any industry on Earth. For many longtime travelers, this story is also a reminder of how far aviation has come. Some viewers may remember an era when flying felt glamorous but less predictable. Today, technology, training, and strict oversight mean that commercial air travel remains one of the safest ways to get from one place to another. Events like this mid-air scare are now rare, and when they do happen, they are studied intensely so they are even less likely to occur again. It is also a quiet tribute to the men and women who keep these planes in the sky and bring them home again. The pilots who stayed calm during the incident, the air traffic controllers guiding them, and the maintenance crews now working long hours to complete inspections are all part of a global safety net that most passengers never see. Their work often goes unnoticed, but it matters every single day. So, while the words major recall can sound unsettling, this is, in many ways, a story about the system working the way it should. One flight had a serious scare, the crew handled it, everyone walked away safely, and now an entire fleet of aircraft is getting extra attention to prevent something similar from happening again. As travelers look ahead to future trips to see grandkids, attend reunions, or take that long-planned vacation, this episode will be remembered not for what went wrong in the sky, but for how quickly people on the ground moved to make things right. In the end, this recall will stand as another chapter in aviation's long history of learning, improving, and doing everything possible to make sure every journey ends with a safe landing and a warm welcome home. News 6. If you've been watching the weather maps this year and thinking, is it just me, or does hurricane season feel different now? You're definitely not alone. This year's Atlantic hurricane season has officially wrapped up, and it's being remembered as one of the most intense and unusual in recent memory. Forecasters watch storm after storm spin up over very warm ocean waters, and many of them strengthened faster than we used to see decades ago. Meteorologists have pointed out that warmer seas, fueled by a changing climate, are giving these storms more energy to work with. Communities along the Gulf Coast, the Southeast, and the Caribbean spent much of the season preparing, boarding up windows, and checking on neighbors. In many places, that community spirit really shined. Local churches, senior centers, and volunteer groups organized rides for older residents, made sure medications were refilled, and kept an eye on folks who live alone. Utility crews and first responders once again showed incredible dedication, working long hours in tough conditions to restore power and clear roads. Scientists say that while we can't stop storms from forming, we can get smarter about how we respond. This season pushed weather experts and emergency planners to keep improving early warning systems, evacuation plans, and building codes. They're using what they learned this year to better protect people, especially in vulnerable coastal areas and small towns that don't always make the headlines. At the same time, more everyday citizens got involved, from neighborhood text chains that checked in on older residents, to local schools turning gymnasiums into cooling and charging centers. People across the region found simple, caring ways to look out for each other. It's a reminder that in the middle of all the satellite images and storm tracks, it's still human kindness that makes the biggest difference. As we close the book on this hurricane season, experts are already looking ahead, working to understand how a warming climate is reshaping these storms and what that means for future generations. But what truly stands out is the resilience. Families rebuilding, communities coming together, and neighbors helping neighbors. That's how this season will be remembered, not just for the power of the storms, but for the strength, compassion, and determination of the people who faced them together. Number 1. She had the presence of a queen and the warmth of a friend, once said a fellow actor on set. Lise Bourdin, known for her grace on screen and kindness off camera, has passed away at the age of 97. She quietly slipped from this world following natural causes, leaving behind a legacy of elegance, poise, and timeless charm. A captivating figure of European cinema in the 1950s, Lise captivated audiences not just with her beauty, but with her understated strength and presence. She earned acclaim for roles in films like The River Girl, La Ladra, and most memorably, as Madame X in Billy Wilder's classic Love in the Afternoon. Standing beside legends like Audrey Hepburn and Gary Cooper, Lise held her own with humility and confidence. She brought a subtle intensity to every role she played, often portraying characters with both dignity and vulnerability. Though her film career was brief, it was unforgettable. Lise left the spotlight at the height of her fame, a bold decision that reflected the independence she lived by. Later in life, she married Italian industrialist Count Vittorio Cini and stepped away from public life, embracing a more private role while continuing to inspire those who knew her. Despite decades away from the screen, Lise Bourdin never faded from memory. To her colleagues, she remained a symbol of classic European cinema's golden age, and to her loved ones, she was a source of laughter, wisdom, and unwavering love. French Minister of Culture Rima Abdul-Malak paid tribute, saying, "She embodied a certain elegance of French cinema. Her legacy is quiet, but eternal." As we remember this remarkable woman, we celebrate a life touched by art, beauty, and genuine humanity. Tributes to Lise Bourdin. Fuzzy had a way of making the hardest game look easy, and of making everyone around him smile, said a fellow pro, remembering the man who brought life and laughter to the fairways.